Greetings and welcome to 10 Ways to Turbocharge Your Warehouse. Presentation to help you become best in class in warehouse automation. First, my name is Roger Ressley, Vice President of Microsoft Solutions with DSI, and I'm happy to be with you today to share some interesting information on warehouse performance. 10 Ways to Turbocharge Your Warehouse is a focus on making you better through processes and, of course, technology. Many companies struggle with excessive paper, a lot of manual processes, lost inventory. Obviously, warehouse tourism comes into play, and in general, just poor customer service. Today, we're going to talk about how to improve those things, to learn how to become best in class, and really taking a look at the top 10 KPIs, which really are the measure of a well-performing distribution center or a warehouse. We hope to show you how to eliminate errors, obviously to reduce your operating costs, improve overall customer services, and most importantly, improve the efficiency of your labor force. Turbocharge a warehouse, really an interesting perspective when you look at distribution, but let's put it in this context. We really should think of Microsoft Dynamics AX, or the new Dynamics 365 for operations and finance, as the engine that really drives your business. Secondly, there's a lot of options. We call this the fuel that powers your engine, and that would be your selection of warehouse management modules, be that WMS1, WMS2, or WHS. Finally, no good warehouse management system would be complete without a mobile data collection component. And we like to refer to that as the transmission that delivers the power and improves the operation of your warehouse. Why tune up your warehouse? Well, it's obvious that it is a very expensive asset to operate and maintain. It's certainly a critical link in your order to cash cycle. It's a major labor component of your business. And probably one of the most visible customer-facing elements to impact your day-to-day interaction with your good customer base. From the financial perspective, a lot of cash-to-cash metrics come into play, whether it be inventory days of supply, average days payable, or average days of sales outstanding. Bottom line is, within the typical warehouse or distribution center, many inefficiencies abound. We need to start by looking at how is that engine running. What do I mean by that? The path to best in class really is pretty straightforward. We must first identify your pain points. We need to benchmark those key performance indicators, certainly interpret the results, and then we are going to certainly have to bring into account some effective change management. Improving workflow processes takes many tasks. But certainly we take a look at the physical improvements that are necessary, probably some business process improvements, certainly a strong look at your WMS logic built into your ERP system, and then, of course, how do you apply the mobile data collection. Distribution pain points. Well, there are many, whether it be workforce morale and safety, ever-present labor performance and cost issues, warehouse tourism, as we talked about earlier, supply chain disruptions, traceability and recalls, some of those common problems like hide and seek, pick a door, any door, and of course my favorite, FIFO, LIFO, and FISH. For those that you have not heard of FISH, we like to say first in and still here. How do we do engine diagnostics on a warehouse? We're going to turn to our good friends, the Warehouse Education Research Council. This is an independent consortium of professionals that look at the performance of warehouses and distribution systems, and certainly are key to understanding the metrics that are in play and how to improve them. It's been said that one can only manage which is measured. So how do we look and how do we measure, I guess, is the real question. Again, we turn to WERC, our work, for the DC performance metrics. And a common document that is key to understanding that is the annual Spring Watch document, which is a compilation of benchmarking measures and how those measurements are applied. Typical distribution center operations obviously entail certain elements of inbound, of stock movements, stock replenishment, certainly put away, flow through, cross-docking, all of the things that come into play when moving product in and out of a large distribution center. The good news is that WERC work has looked at all of these elements and has done some great work in looking at the key performance indicators and how to measure them. Work flow activities, as I said, look to be inbound. That would be including receiving, put away, replenishment, stocking, inventory, and yard management. Obviously, picking is a big part of a warehouse operation in terms of order fulfillment. And lastly, the outbound process, which can include cross-docking, loading, and yard management. DC performance metrics come in many groupings, but typically work as it chose to look at them in the categories of customer, operations, certainly financial, capacity and quality, employee, what we call the perfect order, and certainly for those looking at financial performance, cash-to-cash metrics and how we should interpret those. Customer metrics first, such things as on-time shipments, the perfect order completion index, back orders as a percent of total orders. Those are common customer metrics that need to be looked at and need to be measured. Operations metrics, probably more familiar with those in terms of dock-to-stock cycle time. This gets into all types of metrics around order lines and how those are received, put away, and picked, on-time receipts from suppliers, fill rates, lines picked and shipped, orders picked and shipped, cases, pallets, and on-time shipments. So operation metrics are very, very key in tuning up our warehouse. There's, again, the financial metrics, which come into play. Inventory is expensive. Maintaining it effectively is key to having good results in the financial metrics categories. Capacity. Average capacity is a metric which is important, as is the peak capacity that we use. As we know, warehouses are a very expensive asset to maintain, and using that space and all that goes into it, including the maintenance as well as the energy levels, all of those things are important in running things efficiently. So capacity and quality metrics come into play quite often. Other common metrics for the employee are as follows. As far as the perfect order, and again, the cash-to-cash metrics we discussed in terms of inventory days of supply, average days payable, and certainly average days of sales outstanding. So which of these metrics really matter? Well, work says there is really no difference by cross-section survey by industry. While the businesses may be the same, the metrics still apply. They see no statistical difference based on any of the demographics. Quantitative performance is quantitative performance. There are certainly differences, and by industry there will be certain metrics which come into play or are more pertinent. As for other industries, we may find some of these metrics not as important. But the metrics themselves are all quite good, and it's important that you compare your business against a similar industry and the metric surveys which Work has compiled. The Work Survey Watch of Spring of 2017 will give you a good rundown of how this data was collected, both in size of company as well as respondents by the corresponding industry. You can actually go online at www.work.org and take a look at these survey results and begin to get a feel for the metrics that are most commonly referred to as best in class for your typical industry. So we talked about the top 10 ways to turbocharge a warehouse. And what we're really talking about are the top most popular metrics as compiled from surveys in your particular industry. We have data goes way back to 2005. If you look at the last three results, we see those on the screen here. But in 2017, our ranks were average warehouse capacity used, order picking accuracy, which is a quality matrix, and then, of course, on-time shipments. Usually those are the top three. We're going to take a look at these top three in the context of the key performance indicators that were compiled by WERC. As you can see, on-time shipments are broken into major opportunities, disadvantage, typical, advantage, and best in class with an overall median score. This is important to understand based upon the quintile rankings and how the survey data was collected. But each quintile ranking indicates 20% of the responses, which gives you 5 representing categories. Obviously, we want it to be best in class. But you need to determine whether you see a major opportunity for improvement, whether you're disadvantaged, you're a typical operation, you have some upside, or you truly are best in class. If we look at this one metric of on-time shipments, you can see to be best in class, you need to be 99.8%. The median on the survey results was 98.15. You can see the other percentages as it's broken down by the opportunity class. What's also important about the work survey is how you actually understand the metrics in terms of a definition, which is shown below, and how to calculate that. In this case, number of order shipped on time versus total number of orders shipped. Very simple formula, but one that can be applied in your business intelligence system as you hope to compile this data for constant monitoring and improvement. Let's take a look at order picking accuracy. We can see to be best in class, respondents were 99.9%. The median, though, was 99.45. And if you certainly are less than 98% in order picking accuracy, you're certainly disadvantaged, and there's a major opportunity for improvement. Next up is average warehouse capacity used. And in this case, we see that the median score was 84%, best in class being 91.6%, and certainly less than 70% major opportunity for improvement. Again, average warehouse capacity is one of those top 3 indicators in most all classes of business, and the definition is the average amount of warehouse capacity used over a specific amount of time, month to month or even yearly. So it's average capacity used over average capacity available. Okay, so how do we achieve best in class? There's a saying that we often refer to that expectations drive results. We've had a look at what the best in class metric should be, but now the question is, how do we get there? Again, the path to best in class is to understand these results with effective measurement, and then, of course, to put together a corresponding change management campaign, which always entails improving your workflow processes. We recommend a physical audit of a facility. There are a number of vendors which can supply this service that can help you in the actual layout of the facility and the actual paths that are used for most common receipts and shipments. Out of that will certainly come some recommendations on business process improvements and change, which it may entail some changes to your basic information systems logic and certainly better applications of perhaps mobile data collection. Improving workflows. Obviously, the walkthrough audit is our best recommendation. And again, there are a number of firms which can help you with best practices. Here at DSI, we have some templates which can be applied. And this has to be done in the context of both your physical facility, your current business processes, and of course the application and use of your ERP system, that being Microsoft Dynamics AX. We recommend involving your Microsoft Dynamics AX partner who implemented your inventory or WMS system. If you had a mobile data collection vendor, they should be involved in the process, and there should be much collaboration between all of the parties to really take a look at your supply chain fulfillment to make recommendations on how this can be improved. And again, this will be in the context of each of the major KPIs that we reviewed earlier coming from WERC. The final steps, obviously, once we understand the metrics, we've measured them, and we know what we need to do to achieve best in class. The application of these best practices after the audit is done, and then, of course, continual diagnostics. But now it is really time to turn your Microsoft Dynamics engine. For those of you familiar with Microsoft Dynamics AX and the new Dynamics 365, you will note that there are really three major warehouse management modules which can be applied. There's the very basic or WMS1, obviously WMS2, and more recently Microsoft has introduced Advanced Warehouse Management with an acronym called WHS. Lastly, we need to couple that with a powerful mobile data collection solution that can deliver the power necessary to help you achieve best in class. Taking a look now at an overview of WMS, WMS2, and then WHS, let's understand that warehouse management options are many, but the basic warehouse option really will support most basic inventory transactions receiving through shipping. These are available in Dynamics 365 for operation, but there is no integrated data collection solution. So WMS is the very basic inventory management module that can be applied, but it will come with no out-of-the-box data collection. WMS2 was certainly available in Microsoft Dynamics 2012 release R3. It is offering more functionality, particularly in the areas of consolidated picking, when pallets come into play with pallet transport, multiple sales orders per shipment, dock management needs, staging capabilities. But there again, in WMS2, there's no integrated data collection. So if you're a R2 or R3 Microsoft Dynamics AX customer, you have the choice of WMS1, WMS2, and for those on R3, WHS. It is important to note that the WMS2 module will be deprecated in Microsoft Dynamics AX 365 for operations. Lastly, we have the Advanced Warehouse option, or WHS. This provides a lot of enhanced functionality that you would find in world-class WMS systems, including such things as work templates, location directives, license plates for pallet handling, wave picking, all of those type of things. This was a technology that was acquired from a Microsoft partner, and certainly known as Wax and Trax in the early day, but it has now been totally folded into the Dynamics 365 for operations to replace the WMS2 functions. It does have some built-in data collection. It's got a basic rudimentary data collection capability. There are some known gaps and a few performance issues. These things are being addressed, but I think it is important to fully understand the breadth and depth of your data collection needs to see if any of these shortcomings could be impactful. Lastly, achieving best in class does require mobile data collection. Obviously, here at DSI, we have an offering in ScanWorks, which is a excellent tool for addressing these needs. But in general, automatic data collection in a warehouse is fundamental. And the most obvious benefit is the accurate and timely capture of information. It is a big tool in increasing the productivity of the material handlers. It is very important in reducing overhead and doing things efficiently to eliminate a lot of clerical overhead and duplicate paperwork entry. Very powerful in increasing your inventory accuracy, reducing shipping errors, and obviously giving better visibility across your entire supply chain. So many benefits come into play with automatic data collection, and operating a warehouse or distribution center without it certainly is going to be a difficult challenge to become best in class. Return on investments are quite easy to look at, particularly when we look at hard expense savings. There are certainly reductions in direct labor, inventory reductions, holding costs, data entry, the duplication of work that is eliminated, and certainly a big saving in fixed assets. So good return on investment is there, and there are a number of good soft expense savings as well. Here at DSI, we do have a very nice calculator which will allow you to apply your particulars of your warehouse operation, and we can give you a good view of the ROI that you should expect by the data that you've supplied us about your current operations. If we look at the data collection options again in summary, for those of you running Microsoft Dynamics way back to the early versions of Exapta 3.0, 4.0, AX 2009, and as I mentioned, the 2012 R1, R2, a third-party mobile data collection solution is going to be required. If you are on 2012 R3 or the new and using either WMS 1, 2, or the new advanced WHS, you do have some data collection capabilities on board. But there again, you would need to look at your requirement set, your transactional needs, and see whether or not you need to turn to a third party like DSI ScanWorks, which is fully supportive of the entire WHS business processes. DSI ScanWorks has some very good product differentiators. We hope we'll have an opportunity to share those with you in more detail, but at a high level, it is really a product of many firsts. It was one of the first products to be certified for Microsoft Dynamic ERP systems, including Dynamics AX 2009 and the first for AX 2012. It is the first product to support all three warehouse module options, as we discussed, WMS1, WS2, WHS. It is also the first product to be built from the ground up for Microsoft Dynamics ERP. And for those of you that know Microsoft Dynamics, you know that it is a very flexible and an agile tool, making modifications easy. That's why we've made ScanWorks very configurable, not requiring the need for a programmer to come in and make assistance as you make changes in your base ERP system. Lastly, it is the first and only mobile data collection product available on AppSource for Microsoft Dynamics 365 for operations. Let's do a bit of a turbocharge your warehouse summary to kind of recap the key points of today's discussion. It all starts with your engine diagnostics, taking a look at the WERC benchmarks. And I would highly recommend that you get a copy of the Spring 2017 watch, which will validate many of the points we discussed here today and certainly give you the key performance indicators that need to be maintained, measured, and improved to really become first in class. Secondly, we recommend the tune-up of your engine. That's implementing best practices. optimizing those workflows in your facility, taking time with an audit involving your Microsoft personnel, your data collection personnel, certainly your operations personnel, and if you can, use a third-party supply chain expert to help you look at best practices, how they're being applied, and do that in the context of the work benchmarks which really pertain to your industry. A big part of the audit will obviously be the proper fuel mix. We need to take a look at Microsoft Dynamics 365 for operations, or Dynamics AX if you're running that on-premise version, to make sure that the business logic and the functions and features support the transactional sets which are going to be needed for you to achieve improvements in those key performance areas. Mobile data collection is certainly a big part of that effort. And wherever possible, we should put mobility in the hands of the labor force running your warehouse to really achieve more accurate and timely data capture into your Microsoft Dynamics ERP system. Last word of advice would be to use the best mechanics in the industry. We're certainly proud of our resources here at DSI. We've been in business since 1979. We have a large team of Microsoft professionals that know a lot about the different versions, certainly the different inventory management capabilities. That's enabled us to build a world-class product in ScanWorks to fully address the needs of mobile data collection and how it can help you drive results. With that, we will say thank you for your time together. And if you would like further information, please reach out to us at info@dsiglobal.com. Thank you very much.